land-surveyor the Count has sent for. My assistants are following on with the instruments tomorrow in the carriage. I wanted to experience the trek through the snow, but unfortunately I strayed off the path once or twice, and that's why I only got here so late. I already knew for myself before you told me that by that time it was too late to present myself at the castle. That's why I was ready to have a night's sleep here, which you disturbed, discourteously, to put it mildly. That's all I have to say. Good night, gentlemen. And Carr turned over towards the stove. He heard someone behind him hesitantly ask, "Land-surveyor?" Then all was quiet. The young man soon regained his composure, though, and in tones muted enough to be regarded as showing consideration for Carr's sleep, and loud enough for Carr to hear what was being said, he said to the landlord, "I'll ring up and ask." What? Was there even a telephone at this village inn? They were extremely well set up. This detail surprised Carr, but on the whole he had of course expected it. It turned out that the telephone was fixed almost directly above his head. He had not spotted it in his sleepy state. If the young man now had to use the telephone, then with the best will in the world, he could not avoid disturbing Carr's sleep. The only question was whether Carr should let him telephone. He decided to allow it. Once he had done so, though, it was of course pointless to pretend to be asleep, and he therefore turned round onto his back again. He saw the peasants edging together nervously and talking amongst themselves. The arrival of a land-surveyor was not unimportant. The kitchen door had opened, and there, filling the doorway, stood the powerful figure of the landlord's wife. The landlord tiptoed towards her to tell her what was going on. And now the telephone conversation began. The steward was asleep, but a junior steward, one of the junior stewards, a certain Herr Fritz, was on the line. The young man, who introduced himself as Schwarzer, told him how he had found Carr, a man in his 30s, a real ragamuffin, peacefully sleeping on a palliasse with a tiny rucksack as a pillow and a gnarled stick within arm's reach. The person had naturally aroused his suspicions, and since the landlord had obviously neglected his duty, he, Schwarzer, had been obliged to get to the bottom of things. He added that Carr had responded very badly to being woken up, questioned, and presented with the threat, which he, Schwarzer, had been duty-bound to make, of being driven off the Count's lands. As it had turned out, the man had perhaps had right on his side, since he was claiming to be a land-surveyor appointed by the Count. In Schwarzer's view, they had a technical obligation, at the very least, to check the claim, which was why he was asking Herr Fritz to inquire in the central office whether they really were expecting a land-surveyor answering that description, and then to ring him back with the answer straight away. After that, all was quiet. Fritz was making his inquiries over the way, and here people were waiting for the answer. Carr stayed in the same position as before. He did not even turn round, but looked straight out, apparently without any curiosity at all. Schwarzer's story, with its blend of malice and circumspection, gave him an idea of the education, diplomatic education as it were, which even insignificant people at the castle like Schwarzer had at their fingertips. They worked hard there, too. The central office functioned during the night. It obviously came up with answers very quickly as well, because Fritz was already ringing through. The message seemed to be very short, though, because in no time at all, Schwarzer was angrily throwing the receiver down. "What did I say?" he yelled. "There's no record of a land-surveyor. He's a common lying tramp. Probably something worse, though." For a moment, Carr thought that Schwarzer, the peasants, the landlord, and his wife would all go for him, and he crawled right under the blanket, so as to avoid the first onslaught at least. Then the telephone rang out once again, particularly loudly, it seemed to Carr. He slowly peered out again from under the blanket, although it was unlikely that it was anything to do with Carr. Everyone stopped short, and Schwarzer went back to the telephone. He picked up the receiver, listened to a lengthy explanation, and then quietly said,